Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I am one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts.
Much like to George.
And Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
We continue our coverage of Last Argument of Kings, the third book in the original trilogy. And for this episode, we'll be covering Tomorrow's Hero and Nightfall. So, let's get started. As usual, gotta thank everybody for your support, right? Guys, we gotta thank them. Thank them. Go ahead, start thinking.
Thanks for following us through this incredible journey. I can't believe how fucking close we are to the end of this book.
I know, It's wacky. It's like, I was, you were just talking about it, Jeff. You were like, oh yeah, this thing doesn't happen for a little while. I'm like, actually, it's next chapter, bro. And you're like, what?
So much happens in this book that's ridiculous. And the fact that we're almost done with the trilogy, it's like, well, scary. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and sticking around and all that. We'll get right to it. We'll start off with our first chapter read through, and this is Tomorrow's Hero. Now, we start off from the perspective of who else but His August Majesty, Giselle
Dan King.
And he is on a magnificent horse, a gray charger, a beautiful horse. And he's with his homies, the Knight of the Body. And
the horse it's clopped obediently. I
Yes,
don't know
it is.
why, but I really like that word, clopped. I just, anytime I hear it, I'm like, oh, it clopped.
I'm trying to imagine a horse clopping obediently, and I can't.
Yes, he's with his obediently clopping horse, and his homies, the Knight of the Body, his not so close homie, Lord Marshal Varuz. And Varuz is kind of giving him the 411 as to like what's been going down since the Gurkish have been, kind of breaching some walls here and there. I think they breached Arnott's wall already. No, they didn't. They breached Casimir's, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And they're fighting in like certain districts. Certain areas are either getting wiped out by the black powder, the Gurkish fire. A lot of fighting, and as they're I like this one part that Lord Marshal Varuz he says the damage has been, bit of a pregnant pause, extensive. And then I like the following statement where it goes, a crashing understatement. Whole sections of the city had been devastated by fire. Whole rows of buildings that Giselle remembered as grand houses, busy taverns, clattering workshops, reduced to blackened wreckage. Looking at them was as horrifying as seeing an old lover open their mouth to reveal 2 rows of shattered teeth.
What a fucking image.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. The reek of smoke and burning and death clawed constantly at Giselle's throat and had reduced his voice to a gravelly croak. And then you guys are talking about this guy, where this guy comes out of nowhere. He's like covered in soot, ash, and dirt. And he's like picking through the wreckage, and he looks at Giselle. What does he go, guys? How do you do it?
Yeah, God damn it, Jeff. I just told you right before we started. I was like, this is actually really solemn. And because of the way Pacey does it, and you're like about to bust up laughing.
Go ahead and do it. Don't be a little biatch.
He's like, "Where's my son? Where's my son?"
He sounds so broken up about it as well.
But to be fair, so would I.
I mean, yeah, it's a normal thing to be broken up about. Like,
Yeah,
fair enough.
Normal thing about.
It's not like Jeff's over here. Look at this loser can't find his son.
I think that's how Jeff's seeing it.
Maybe he's panicking because he doesn't have his little child laborer no more.
Oh my god! I think Pacey delivers this so well because the way he says, like, he delivers the first line and just like full distraught, and the second line is like you could tell he's just saying it because he's been saying it for hours. But it kind of gives you the image of what the city is like. Like Giselle is like, excellent metaphor of basically saying it's nothing what it used to be. We know there's not as many people as there used to be, anyways, because a lot of them left the city before the siege, and now they're dying from fires and fighting, and children are being lost, And it's just kind of emphasizing the point. And Giselle's like, I don't really know how to handle this. I'm just going to walk away.
I love this phrase when he's like, he didn't need to offer his conscience any further weapons with which to stab him. It was already exceedingly well armed.
Yeah, so he tells his little horse, he's like, let's get a move on and let's get the fuck out of here. I don't need to see this. And I like how Lord Varuz tells him about like how Arnold's wall is still holding and everything, but he's raising his voice as to say, then was Varuz spoke considerably louder than was necessary in a futile effort to smother the heartbroken wails still ringing through the ruins behind them. So he's probably like, not a single Gurkish soldier has yet set foot.
My son! Where is my son?
Oh no, that's awful. And Giselle's kind of like, fuck, is it? He asked him for like the 30th time or whatever, have we had any news from Lord Marshal West? And Varus goes, we are basically entirely cut off. News arrives, but rarely through the Gurkish cordon. But there also been storms off of England, so there is going to be a delay at least. That's what they're all kind of worried about.
Yeah, it's getting worse and worse.
Mm-hmm. And we get a little bit of a appearance from Bremer Dan Gorse where he says "black luck."
And then that's it.
That's all he says. And then Varus talks about. He continues. He talks about now that an illness has broken out in the Agrion, a swift and merciless plague. It's even extended itself to the palace. 2 knights of the body have already died from it. One day they were standing guard at a gate, and the next night they were in their coffins. Their bodies withered, teeth rotted, hair fell out. They've never seen something like this before. The physicians, we, the reader, know what this is. Mm-hmm.
It died from the magical radiation.
Yep. From if you remember, listeners and first-time readers, in the previous episode, Pharaoh was running through the Agrion with the seed uncovered and got stopped at the gate by 2 knights of the body. And now 2 knights of the body have died from some mysterious illness. I wonder what the connection is.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy actually how quickly they die, because it's like one day and they're dead, toast, completely annihilated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they must have been in contact with the seed for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, and these knights of the body are they're the best soldiers in all of the Union. So
so they're in physical tip-top shape, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. And so Giselle's worried about that now. He's like, jeez. And they're still riding through the city of Adua, and he goes, where are we at now? This is like an empty space almost. And Bruce goes, well, this is the 4 corners. And Giselle's just like, what?
My childhood has been ruined. That's the vibe I get,
Mm-hmm. Harris, do you want to talk about this? How Giselle's feeling and what it used to be the 4 corners?
It's kind of a zoomed in picture of what he is already feeling and seeing through the whole city, which is it's just a shell of its former self, because he's like, that tavern, I know where that tavern used to be. I mean, I used to go there, and nothing else looks the same, and there's buildings that are almost completely destroyed, and he just is reminiscing and is sad that there's nothing left really of it, and he does notice a small group of people clustered around the garden, an old garden, and it's just women and children mostly. It's some old men, and he's looking around him. He's like, oh my god! He's like, that's Artie right there. He's like, oh, I gotta see her. I gotta see Artie. He goes up there, and and then she turns and looks at him, and she looks at him through he can just see one eye and her dark hair, and he's like, no, that's not Artie. Oh fuck! It's all awkward because she's someone who's far less attractive. That's his first go-to. It's like, oh, that person's not attractive. I do love how, especially in this chapter, so many things are emphasized, because Giselle, despite him being definitely better than he was, he still sees things in the superficial face value. That's why he emphasized oh, this city looks like an old lover with bad teeth. So he's like, oh well, this is awkward because she's like cold and like unattractive and like a younger woman, and he's like, here, take my coat, because everyone is staring at him. So he takes his coat off and gives it to her, and everyone's like, oh my god, this act of
What a
charity,
noble man.
a chair for King Giselle.
Hey.
And there's like, I love this little section here. It says a young lad on a crutch gazed at him with moon-eyed desperation. A soldier with a bloody bandage over one eye, the other rimmed with proud moisture. A mother clutched her baby wrapped in something that horribly looked like a shred of cloth from a fallen Union flag. The whole scene seemed like it was carefully posed for the greatest emotional impact.
Giselle is just like torturing himself at this point,
Yeah.
isn't he?
Yeah, he's like, what the fuck?
He's still seeing things in that face value sort of way too. It's just, but I mean, it is. I mean, if I was a citizen and I saw my king walk up and give somebody a coat, I mean, it's kind of silly, like the way these people are acting, because we know how Giselle actually is, and what he's trying to do here, and he's fumbling his way. But I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you're in the middle of a siege. You give a good speech. He's out every day. He's in the city looking, seeing his people. He's not just huddled up inside his palace. So.
You gotta give him credit for that. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But, with everybody, looking at him and they're like, yeah, King Giselle, this is awesome. He just kind of collapses in on himself and fully like just takes the blame. He's like, what have I done?
Yeah.
And he's like, just get me closer to the wall, to Arnold's wall. And they're further into the second ring of the city. So he wants to go closer. And Varuz is like, no, let's not do that. But he's like, all right, I guess we can.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he doesn't even do that. He just keeps.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, he's like, yeah, he just fucking's like, I'm going.
Yeah.
God, stop me! I'm the king.
Mm-hmm. And
so all of a sudden, there's like a shudder, like a. It's hard to explain. Like I've never really seen anything like this, but
like a boom,
like a fuse being lit, right? But there's like that thing like before the actual explosion, like there's like a smaller explosion, and like everybody like looks up and looks around to see what's going on, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, there's a breach in the walls, and who happens to be there but the king?
How convenient!
How convenient! And I do love the fact that he doesn't hesitate. He just goes, "Aha! This is my time to shine," or even. It's a little bit darker than that, and he's just like, well, if I do charge in and get killed, then, I don't have to deal with my horrible, horrible wife and, this horrible guilt that I feel, and fuck off shit.
It's literally a suicide chart, isn't it?
Yeah, it is literally a suicide mission, yeah.
But it is kind of cool. Let's be real here.
Yeah,
he fucking whips out that sword and is like, Knights of the Body! To me! And then fucking just charges in full force.
I love how fucking Ghost goes for his reins as well. It's like, no, you can't do that.
Yep. And we should point out that he did ride ahead of the Knights of the Body, right? So that's why they're just catching up. And then he does Knights of the Body, right? And then Gorse just catches up. He's like, no, don't fucking leave.
Yeah.
And then he gives his magnificent horsey the spurs, and it sprang forward with unexpected vigor, and it goes careening into the body of Gurkish soldiers. And these are auxiliaries, we should point out. These are light armored, lightly armed, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and they don't really want to be there, let's be real.
No, but they are like, what the fuck? And let's just, how do we say this? Giselle charges into the group, and his horsey runs over a lot of these auxiliaries, and he starts, swinging and stabbing. And then Giselle's horsey gets stabbed, which I don't like, from a spear. Giselle falls off his saddle, and he's just, now he's in chaos. He's like, uh-oh, now I'm, maybe I didn't make the best decision here.
I like how he reaches for his head and realizes he hasn't got the circlet on anymore, and he's like, "Oh my god, how will anyone know that I'm the king?" What a weird fucking thing to think. You must have taken a bit of a knock on the head there.
Yeah, no, he was getting cracked around a bit there, and then this one Gurkish soldier, basically has him dead to rights, and is about to give him a little swish swish, and then that guy's wrist disappears, and it's because of Bermudan Gorse. He comes in the nick of time, and he's like, the king, or who wants to do Burma's voice? Boyish little voice. Oh man. And so yeah, Gorse comes in there and he just starts laying waste to these these Gurkish little fellows. The Knights of the Body catch up, and then basically they make a good enough enough of a headway to drive them back. Gorse basically carries Giselle under his arm, and they start to. So Gorse and Giselle go one way, and the rest of the soldiers they push the Gurkish out a little bit, and they start to basically patch up the breach. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Casal's charge actually did something.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like a horrible, like a pointless gesture. It actually did kind of stop this new invasion.
And Gorse goes to the Agrions, Your Majesty, at once, and like he's telling the king, "This is what we're doing. You got me fucked up. I'm not. You can't be going out here putting your life at risk. This is not cool. All right, I'm supposed to protect you. You can't be putting your life willingly at risk. What the fuck is this?" And Giselle's like, "All right, fine." And then we get a bit of a break, and then we get to the square of marshals, and we have a bunch of laborers that are working at the paving stones. They're using pick and chisels and axes and everything. They're digging up like little shallow trenches, and there's like temporary forges operated by some smiths, and they're pouring in like iron into molds. So some commotion. And who else in the middle of it but Bias, first of the Magi? And here we get a nice little return to form where he's out here yelling at people beneath him. He's like, "No, a circle, you dunce, from here to here," you know. And then Varuz is he kind of is like, "You know what? I gotta go. I gotta go back to the hall's marshal. I got to
Might be
figure
the only
things out."
time that's ever mentioned, by the way. The Halls
Yeah,
Marshal. I think that is it. The one and only time.
maybe once in the first book, maybe
I can't. I don't think so.
maybe when Giselle's doing his runs.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
But I love the fact that Varus is like Ardal's wall was breached, as if Giselle wasn't just there.
Yeah, yeah, right.
He does this a lot. Varus has a tendency to be like, the fires have torn scars through the city, and then there's like nothing around. It's all burnt to a crisp, and he's like, the Gurkish just puts us out of Arnold's wall. It's like men are dying around. It's like it's just.
I'm starting to think that Varus might be just a little bit senile.
Yeah, he might be.
I would say he is a little bit. He is a little bit older, isn't he?
Yeah, you never know. He might be in his 60s or something like that. And then so Varuz leaves. Giselle tells Gorse to wait right here. He walks up to Baez, and he notices that Baez he walks up to Baez and Pharaoh. Pharaoh's near Baez. He notices that Baez is gaunt, pale, old, withered, and a side of his face was covered in scabbed over scratches. So he's like, Baez has been through some stuff, huh? He's like, what happened to you, buddy? And then Baez looks at Giselle and he goes, I could ask you the same question. And then Giselle, I guess, doesn't really think about it. He just says, "Oh, I was involved in a charge." And Baez goes, "In a what?" And then Giselle just says it like almost in a monotonous way, where he says the Gurkish brought down a section of this wall while I was surveying the city. There was no one else to turn them back, and so I did it myself. And I guess he thought that Baez would have been like, "Oh, commendable, whatever." What Baez actually said was, "Have what little brains fate saved for you turned to shit?"
He's such an ass.
Such a dick.
That is a sick burn, though.
Yeah, and then Giselle's just kind of dumbfounded. At first, he's like, he wanted to say like, "How dare you? You were talking to a king!" But instead, he just goes, "But I don't understand. I thought, isn't that what Herod the Great would have done?"
And Bias is like, Harold, that fucking idiot was a coward.
and a
He
fat
can
head.
dress himself without my help.
Which is this is actually the first time we hear that little narrative break, though, in terms of his the Herod, the king, the whole king. I've been here for kings before. That whole thing. That's the first time that breaks because, well, it's pretty obvious. Bias is a bit shaken up, and he's a bit like on edge, like
Yeah.
everybody else is.
Yeah.
So he says this honestly, and it makes you think too, even if he's exaggerating a little bit. He totally was in full control of whatever Herod did. Like he was in. It was no like Herod uniting. That was all bias. He was literally just a puppet.
Mm-hmm. You get this when it says when Baez says that it's easy to find men to lead charges. Finding men to lead nations is a lot more difficult, and I don't want the effort that I've put into you to be wasted. So next time you have a little bit of a desire to risk your life, lock yourself in the bathroom. Okay, how about that? And he's upset. He's like, people don't respect a corpse. God damn it. And then he kind of his attention gets distracted when he yells at some other at some other laborer. He's like, "Not there, you fool! You must follow the charts precisely. Even one mistake is fatal." And Giselle is just kind of just dumbfounded. He's like, "What the hell happened?" And then he just goes and sits next to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh, as always, with the great greetings, "Your fucking Majesty."
I love the way that line is delivered. Like he doesn't even say anything. He just like gets close to her.
I don't know why that is such a simple line, but it's so funny.
It's really funny.
Your fucking Majesty.
It works so well. It's such a good symbolism of their relationship.
Yep. And Giselle goes, "Oh, you do me too much honor with your kind words." And Pharaoh kind of just goes, "Yeah, well, Bias is not happy, huh?" And he goes, "Nope. When's he ever happy?" And Giselle asks her, like, what is he even up to? Like, what's going on? And Pharaoh's like, "I don't know. He says he's saving the world, so." And then Giselle goes, "Oh yeah, saving the world. Yeah, a little late for that. What are you gonna do?" And Pharaoh doesn't really tell him what he has planned. He makes a joke about like, "Oh, he's gonna save the world with picks and forges." And Pharaoh kind of just like looks at him a little bit and is like, "Among other things." And then Giselle's ending here. This chapter's ending here when Giselle goes. He says, "I seem to have done the wrong thing," and then Pharaoh goes, "Huh? You've got a knack for it." And that just ends the chapter. It's just like, geez, our boy is low. Our boy is low, low, low.
Yeah, it's odd because it's got to be like one of his most exultant moments, but also one of his lowest. Like he like actually goes in and tries to save or tries to defend the city with his own life, but like it doesn't actually help anything.
Nope.
And it's a bit sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's written really, really well. And, he's kind of had this build up. I've talked about almost every Giselle chapter, which is like this breakdown of his character and him trying to like build himself back up and try to find something. And so here he is trying to be like a king. He got kind of fed up with blaming himself, and he wanted to do something about it. And simultaneously, he maybe if he died, then he wouldn't have to worry about it at all anyways. So, and so he goes in this charge, and it kind of is good and kind of not good because he got other people killed too. But got his horse killed. Got that page boy who just was probably caught up in the moment. Got him killed. And then he gets back and he goes to somebody who he's been getting validation from, whether he wants to admit it or not, and he just gets roasted for it. And what does he have? What does Giselle actually have? He apparently sucks at being king. He blames himself for doing that. He can't have a marriage. He can't be with Artie. All his friends are gone. I mean, like he is very much very low, and it is actually pretty sad.
Yeah, for sure. How would you rate this chapter?
I think I'm gonna give it. It's starting to get really hard with these chapters. These chapters here are really well written. Like it's really well written. I'm gonna say 7 and a knuckle.
Okay.
I think it's actually really good. I think it's a really, really good climax for Giselle's character. Not like fully, but it's up there. It's about to
on
get to
display.
we're about to get to the moment for me at least whenever I'm reading about Giselle. And it's like kind of exciting to have a charge like this. It's very un-First Law like, and I just think it's like a really good Giselle chapter. So
I mean, I think I'm gonna have to go with an 8
Ooh.
for all those reasons. And like you say, it's we're getting to the culmination of Giselle's arc, and to see him at this like ultimate lowest point, and this is the point where he decides that he's going to try and sacrifice himself, whether he knows it or not. Really, it's so well done. It's incredible.
And there's a lot of like small foreshadowing in these few chapters here as well, and this is there's a lot of subtlety.
Oh yeah.
How about you, Jeff?
I'll give it a 7 and a knuckle. That's what I'm gonna give it. I like that. I like that score for this, just because obviously not the most plot heavy chapter, but as you guys have mentioned, we're constantly mining the character of Giselle. We're mining him for all his self hatred, which
You mean we're mining him for entertainment?
Yeah, boy. And I would have gave it an 8, but I took off a knuckle because poor horsey. Anyway,
You're fucking obsessed with this horse, man.
I love horses. You leave me alone. Let's move on to our next segment, which is best meme of the week. Georgie, take it away.
So we've got Tamil Ball again.
Whoa! Favoritism.
Shocker.
Oh.
Whoa, fucking favoritism. Fuck yourself, Jeff.
Oh shit.
It's you now. You're started on me now.
No.
Oh, to be fair, it has been a bit quieter on House of the Meme Maker lately, which is fair enough. There's been quite a, it's been fucking a year and a half, 2 years since the last book came out. So the fact that there's anything on there at all is pretty fucking.
Oh, it's gonna change though. Gonna change. You should talk about.
It's gonna change going forward. For what reason, Jeff? Why did you want me to say that?
I love you just went with it.
Okay, gonna have to edit this one out, I guess. But
I'm keeping that bit. It's funny.
Will told us about the memeing every chapter for Best Served Cold.
Yes. So
God damn it, Archlight! There you are slacking.
I do remember that. Yeah, I thought you were talking about someone else there.
I'm tired.
So the the mods for House of the Meme Maker, who we've had on before for our guest episode, it's they're starting up the meme in every chapter for Best Served Cold. So if anybody's interested, and you definitely should be, go pick up a couple of chapters and get thinking.
Contact Sir Spaceman.
Yep, and I want to thank Sir Spaceman Well again for delaying the Best Served Cold bit, because he thought we'd be a bit quicker with Last Argument of Kings, which obviously we haven't been.
Right, because of somebody's genius idea to two chapters an episode.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to make every episode 2 hours long?
You have no idea how many times I had to cut out Jeff Coffin.
Sorry, it's been
Listeners.
a bad couple weeks. Sorry.
So this meme is from Tamil Ball, and it's the two smug Daenerys and smug Thor. Logan, this time I'll be a better man. Dogman, Logan. Dogman and Logan. It's very funny. So that will be in the description for the episode. And thank you very much, Tamil Ball.
Thanks. So, with that out of the way, we'll move on to our second and final chapter read through, Nightfall. Dun 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 dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Anyway, so we start this chapter off with the perspective from Lord Maszy, and he is in his little war tent, and we believe they have made landfall onto Midderland. Correct, my Adeptus?
Yes, they made landfall at Nightfall.
You want a cookie for that?
Yes, please.
Yes, please. So he's.
I like the fact that we've just gone with Veru's going, there's been storms in England. There's probably going to be a delay, and then the next chapter it's like, oh no, they're here.
We made it, boys! Yeah. So we're, like I said, we're in the tent with him, with General Polder, General Croy, and the Dogman, and West, there's a point in his point of view where he's made it a point to whittle down the briefings with Croy and Polder's staff to the point where it's basically just Croy and Polder and maybe one of their lieutenants or whatever, right?
Mhm.
And so Polder is pissed. He's saying things like, "This will be a battle like no other. Never since Harrod forged the Union has an invader set foot upon the soil of Midderland." Croy is growling his agreement. Polder's still going off about the Gurkish. They're here to take our jobs, to take our women, and all this stuff. and Pike comes in, and he brings in a Knight Herald, but he's not dressed like your normal Knight Herald. He is incognito, and this is Fedor Dan Hayden, and he was able to swim from the docks in Adua and slip around the Gurkish lines. And Wes is like, "Great, you're so brave. You have my thanks. How are things in the city?" And the guy, Fedor, is basically like, it's terrible. It is no good. The western districts, the arches, and the 3 farms belong to the emperor. The Gurkish breached Arnold's wall 2 days ago, so we know now Giselle's perspective chapter was 2 days ago. And the defenses are stretched to the breaking point. Any moment they could burst through and threaten the Agrion. His Majesty asks that you march on Adua with all possible speed. So Wes asks him, does he have any kind of specific strategy in mind? And the Fedor says that apparently the Gurkish have the city surrounded, but they are spread pretty thin, and especially on the eastern side. And Varus thinks that we can they can break through with a pretty a well coordinated attack on the eastern side. So
senile, but he still got it.
he still got it. Croy, he points out that the western districts of the city will still be crawling with Gurkish swine, and Polder at this point is reduced to just whispering, "Bastards, bastards."
He's a very proud old nobleman, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So West agrees he has no choice. He has no choice to march, but to march onto Adua immediately. So they're gonna make use of every road, and they're gonna move lickety split. All right. So he's going to have Admiral Reutzer lead the fleet in an attack against the Gurkish ships in the harbor. General Croy will have some cavalry forwards to scout the way and screen out the advance. He wants no surprises. All right.
Smart. He's doing good.
So so he'll have Croy scout. Has some cavalry ahead to scout, and then he's telling General Croy that his division will approach Adua from the northeast, break through the Gurkish lines, and enter the city in force, pushing westward towards the Agrion. If the enemy have reached the center, then you will engage them. If not, you should bolster the defenses at Arnold's wall and prepare to flush them from the Archers district. Croy just nods and says, by this time tomorrow, not one Kantic soldier will be left alive in Adua. Then
quite a it's quite a boast, isn't it?
yeah,
That's seems a bit unrealistic.
yeah. And then
we're not Logan.
Right, not everyone's Logan. And then West asks Dogman that if he and his Northmen can support General Croy's division in their attack, if your king has no objections, and Dogman goes, he'll go whichever way the wind blows. That's always been his kind of thing. And
just a leaf on the water, Logan.
Yeah, just a leaf on the water. And then West addresses Polder, and he says, your division will approach the city from the southeast and participate in the battle for the walls, then enter the city in force and move on to the docks. If the enemy have made it that far, you will clear them away, then turn northwards and follow the middle way to the Agrion. And Polder is like, you goddamn right! We gonna kill him! We gonna kill him!
We'll paint the streets with Gurkish blood. He's fucking bloodthirsty as hell, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, to be fair though, I mean, I probably would be.
Yeah, your homeland just got invaded, and then he tells both of them. West tells Polder and Croy. He says, "I hardly need to emphasize the importance of victory tomorrow."
He gave him the good old boss stare, like the.
Right. And
This is
honestly,
important.
but honestly, this was not even needed if you think about it, because they both get up without saying a word. They both move towards the entrance of the tent or the exit, and
And
they look at each other for a moment, and then Croy holds out his hand and he says, "The best of luck, General Polder." And Polder grabs his hand with both of his, and then says, "And to you, General Croy, the very best of luck to all of us." And then they both just walked out at the same time. It's like, what?
But I love the fact that they're still trying to one up each other.
Really?
Even though they're like cooperating. He's like, Croy's like the best of luck, and Polden's like the very best of luck.
I did not even think about it that way. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I didn't read it like that. I thought they were, for once, putting the differences aside. It would be hilarious if they were still like a little bit of that petty
I
Betty in
think
them.
there must be still just a little bit, right? Just a tiny
Oh
little
yeah.
bit.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean,
But more of a friendly kind now.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
More, yeah, we'll see. Yeah. And then
Oh, one sec. I
Go ahead.
also like the fact that this mirrors the first time that they're introduced when Burr's still in charge, and they're like both trying to get out of the tent at the same time. They're like, "No, me first, no, me first."
yeah, that's
Also,
good callback.
I think that the whole the dire state of the situation is actually like I wish Joe would emphasize it a little bit more. He kind of is. It's kind of like in Adjo. It's like you can tell it's bad, but the army is like, oh yeah, this is crazy important. And it's I guess it's you're supposed to all hinge on the fact that it's Adjo, right? But they have gone probably force march all the way from Carleon all the way down to Ufrith, immediately got on ships, went through a storm, came back down here. This is after they got a whole bunch of northern attrition, lost several battles, and they don't have any supplies that they just landed. They're going straight into a battle, not having a whole bunch of intel, and they probably have about even number. No, I mean not even close. The Gurkish have like even with numbers lost, we'll be on the weaker side. 400,000 men around the city, and they probably have maybe like they probably have like
Wait,
a tenth of that.
400,000? 400,000?
Oh, sorry, no, my bad. 50,000. My bad, 50,000.
Okay. I was gonna say,
I misspoke. Like 40 to 50,000, and their army is probably the same size, and they don't even know what the fuck they're getting into. So it's a pretty desperate moment that I don't want anybody to not forget. Because if they don't win this battle, they're fucked. Adju was done. They're done.
That's true.
The Union is over.
That's true.
And I do like the fact that West has gone from thinking about how ruthless he has to be to just fucking doing it and not thinking about it.
Yeah, he's not thinking about the politics of his position right now. He's thinking about this, the stratagem overall for
Exactly.
war. Harrison, so I was the first time I read this book, I was a little confused in terms of like where he says, "Oh, come in from the northeast and then from the southeast," and I'm like, "But wait a minute, didn't they come from the north? Why are they coming like so far?" But Adju was on the east coast, right?
No, Adju was in the okay. It's hard to. I'm trying to think of how to describe this. So basically, Adju is like in kind of like a big bay, so it's got land on three sides, and then it juts out, and then there's the ocean. But because it's right in the middle of the island. But it's obviously there's land on both sides of it because it's in the middle. So it's on the southern. Technically, it'd be on the southern part of Midderland, or relatively southern part.
Let me take a little look at a map I just see here.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of hard to describe. But whenever they say they're landed in the north, yeah, so they're gonna come, and they heard that they could attack from the north or from the west. But the west is the strongest because obviously that's where the Gurkhas are like. That's when they first started building fortifications, and that's where they started their assault.
Mhm.
So the eastern side, since they surrounded the city, they're more thinned out. So they can come from any direction they want, but the northeast and the southeast is the best if they come from the east from both directions. Since there is a southeast, since it's like in a bay, it seems to be.
Right. That's right. I'm looking at a map right now, and you see where it says like Brock is in the northeast, right?
Mhm.
Now, wasn't the whole thing about Brock allowing the Gurkish to come up near Keln? Like, what was?
I think it might be a coincidence, and it's just called that. Like, there's no relation.
Right. Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
It's difficult because we never actually hear of a place named Brock inside the books. It's
I
just
no, I
assume they
guess
have
not.
land.
I guess not. You're
So
right.
I always assumed whenever they made that map, this is like somebody just assumed that there's land named Brock because of the name Brock, but really they do clearly stay here. Basically, oh no, we got betrayed. How are they ignored in Keln by Brock? And it, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, it makes sense that Keln is always referenced as a big city, and that's one reason why Brock is a powerful nobleman.
Mhm.
So I believe that's probably his area. I don't think there is a Brock city inside of Midderland.
Mm. Okay. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. Well, thank you for clarifying the deployment and everything, Harrison.
Of course.
Picking back up on the chapter, we Fedor, he back, the Knights Herald, he kind of is like, hey, Lord Marshal, so like I had 4 other friends and they were sent with me. We all split up. We thought, it's easier that we would all, at least one of us would make it through Gurkish lines. Do you know if they kind of like arrived? And Wes goes, oh, no, but maybe later, maybe later.
Okay, bye.
Bye. And then, but Wes could tell that he was like, I don't think it's likely, and that looking at the Fedor, the Knights Herald, he didn't think it likely either, but he's like, yeah, maybe later. And it's like, oh man, you're homie, I'm so sorry.
That does.
Yeah, Pike, he offers to get some wine and a horse, and he wants to see the army attack the Gurkish in the morning, and yeah, so then then Wes he steps out of the tent and he's kind of taking in his surroundings a little bit. Just it's the night before they have to make the march, or like not they're going to start marching now, but it's the night before they fight for the livelihood of their countrymen. And Dogman's kind of chilling there, right? And out of nowhere, Wes kind of just tells him, "Hey, I'm sorry." And Dogman's like, "For what?" And Wes kind of just says, for all of it, for 3 trees, for Toll, for Cathal, for all of it. He's sorry. And Dogman says that he doesn't blame him at all. That doesn't blame anyone, not even Bethod. I mean, what blame doesn't do anything for anybody. So, and then Wes is like, all
That's
right.
a good moment.
That is a good moment.
It's also like perfect because this is exactly what he needed to hear. And like he says the whole time, like his whole thing, blaming himself, and for the most part rightly so, but because he blames himself for one thing, he starts blaming himself for everything. Like it doesn't matter what it is. He thinks everything's his fault. He's being genuine. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. He's not even like placating. He's just like, oh, this is all my fault. It's terrible. And Dogman's like, nah, man, blame don't matter. Like that's beyond whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Wes, like, I like how he takes the moment. He doesn't just in this little break here. He's like, Wes like takes a moment and it's like, oh, wait a minute, he might be right.
Yeah, might be right. And then we get like a little bit of a break in between chapters, not in between chapters, but in between his perspective. And now we go to Logan's perspective. And Logan is, chilling with Grimm and the boys, and the army's marching. He's with his Northmen, and he's looking around, and he sees Shivers. He's in one column, and he's kind of just like he looks at Logan. They watch each other for a moment, and then Shivers just turns his back and just keeps on walking. And then
this is such a
go ahead.
I just the way he acts, man. Like we go from Logan like trying to think of the best of people and be the better man, and we see this better man scenario play out with Dogman. We just saw it, like how he's just like, you know what, people. He literally just told Wes, people have reasons for everything they do. Like blame isn't important. Things happen, and then we switch to Logan, and it's such a dichotomy because he shows him this. He's like, this guy's obviously trying to fucking kill me. The immediate assumption is like, oh, I thought this guy, he's coming at me. They're all coming at me. He's like, it's a completely negative, worse view. Even if it's partially true, it's not the right view to have. And I like that he shows that just by showing it rather than telling you directly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily blame him, though. I mean, Shivers ain't necessarily doing anything to dissuade him from that notion.
I mean,
Not
he said
really. Not
no
really.
previously. Remember, they talked, and he says
Yeah, but it
they
wasn't.
talked.
Yeah, but I like the optimist in me is like, yeah, Shivers is gonna forgive him, or at least whatever as close to forgiveness as possible. The other hand is like, this is first law though. uh, and I like when Logan, he says out loud like, oh, he still doesn't like me much, that guy, and he most likely never will. And Dogman goes, yeah, careless slaughter isn't necessarily the easiest way to become popular, especially for a king.
Roasted.
Yep. And then but Logan does have a good point. He's like, oh, that one there might have the courage to actually do something about it. Because that's the kind of grudge that doesn't go away with time or being nice or saving your lives. And Dogman says, like, listen, don't worry.
Wrong.
All right.
He is. He's wrong.
Okay, we never know. Dogman,
He is proven wrong.
God damn it, we'll see. So Dogman tells Logan, like, don't worry about him. He's all cool. We got plenty enough to worry about these burpish, these dirtish, these whatever this. He doesn't know what they are. And Logan's just he's just so paranoid. He's like, fuck, how many people want me dead? And then and then Dogman kind of is still talking about the Gurkha. She's like, Jesus, can you believe this? We're fighting against brown people now for the Union? What the fuck? How'd this happen? We shouldn't even be here though. And Logan's just like, look, Furious stuck around for us. If it wasn't for him, we've never been done with Bethod. So we owe him. And it's just this one last fight. And then Dogman goes, oh, really? You ever notice how it's just one last fight and it tends to turn into another one? Seems like there's always another fight. Grimm's doing the usual, like that kind of, his usual like grunting and approval.
Yeah.
And Logan says, nope, not this time. This is the last. Then we are donezo. And Dogman goes, oh, yeah? Then after that, what happens? And then Logan goes, I don't know. Back to the north. Peace, right? Dogman's like, peace? What the fuck is peace? He's like, what? And then Logan's like, I don't know. We'll grow stuff or something. And then Dogman's like, grow stuff? Are you shitting me? What do you know? We don't know anything about making things grow. All we've done in our entire lives is just basically kill. And then Logan's like, Jesus Christ, man, have some hope. Your man can learn, can't we? And then Dogman, he's just, I don't know. I guess he's been through the ringer recently, so, he's kind of like...
It's hard. I imagine it's hard to take a fucking lecture about peace from the Bloody Nine.
That is very true. Although he's not trying to give a lecture, he's just trying to say he desires peace, which would probably be just as difficult to stomach.
Well, he's actually not even saying he desires it. That's not even what he's saying. He's saying this will be the last fight, and then we can have peace and grow stuff, I guess. That's what we'll do next. Yeah. He's not even saying he desires it. That's what it's always kind of weird. Like, this conversation is like perfect because it shows Dogman kind of getting fed up, really getting fed up with Logan, and
Right.
Logan is still trying to be better, but he's just saying he's trying to be better. His actions haven't shown that he is, and Dogman is seeing that. And at the same time, the line where he says, we can grow stuff, and Dogman's like, fuck you, bitch. It's really good foreshadowing, actually.
Yeah.
It's really well set up.
Absolutely. Dogman is kind of just, he comes, he just outright says, he's like, the more you kill, the better you get at it. And the better you get at killing, the less, skill you have, or like any less use you have for anything else. Seems to me we lived this long because when it comes to killing, we're the very best there is. And Logan's like, sheesh, Dogman, you are in a dark mood today. And Dogman, he replies by saying he's been in a dark mood for years. What scares Dogman is that Logan isn't. Hope doesn't suit the likes of them. He's like, have you ever touched a thing that wasn't hurt by it? What have you ever had that didn't turn to shit? Logan has to think about it. He's like, well, I have my wife and kids, my father and my people. Oh no, they all dead. 4 3 trees in tow. Oh no, they dead. I see what he's talking about. Uh-oh. And he's kind of having like flashbacks to even people that like that either we never met or we met briefly, like Shama Heartless, Black Toe in the first book, the one that could ride horses really well, Phineas from the second book, Bethod, Crummick's son he starts having these like moments in his mind where he's like kind of recollecting their faces and whatnot. And he goes, yeah, he couldn't even say anything to Dogman's question. And Dogman just goes, thought so, bitch. You gotta be realistic, huh? And he just walks off, and Grim walks away with him, and Logan's kind of just left by himself, and he's just like, a man can change. He starts whispering to himself, like, a man can change. A man can change. And that's it. That's the end of the chapter. That's not so hopeful. That one started out hopeful with West and the boys, but I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, it's definitely setting up like like you say, not very hopeful. This and the previous chapter, it just Joe's really hitting us over the head with the "this isn't a good situation" kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm. Harrison, your thoughts, or you want to start rating, or what?
I just think it's a I agree. It's definitely a chapter. This one and the last chapter are like setups, and they're some of the best setups for like overall narratives for the entire series, not just like this little battle that's obviously about to happen. There's a lot of character stuff, and it's like you said, it's more like depressing on the character side. There's less focus on the actual battle itself, and more of the oh my god, everything's coming together. What are my characters gonna do? And you really feel that dread. Like he doesn't even focus on the battle really in terms of like the build up here. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, how would you rate it?
I'm going to give this one a little bit lower. I'm only going to give it a 6 because it's very short. It's basically 2 chapters crammed into one. Got West's perspective and Logan's, and they're both good. They're both sort of, this is the first time that we've had either of those characters pop up in quite a while.
Yeah.
And it moves the story forward, but we really want to get into the meat of it, which is coming up soon.
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
So this is just a bit of a tease, this chapter, isn't it?
Absolutely. Harrison?
I'm gonna go with a 6 and a knuckle. I agree. I agree on almost all fronts. Only thing is like the little moment with Wes. It feels super underrated. No one ever talks about it, and like I feel like that part is really, really, really well written and set up. And I really like this Dogman Logan. Like just their interactions, especially the more you read it. Like the first time you read it, you got kind of confused because you're like, I don't get it. You're like on Logan's side, you're like, I don't get it. He's trying to be a better guy. But the more you read it, the more you're like,
Like,
the more depressing it gets.
Yeah. I'd give it a 6 and a knuckle as well. It's, obviously we all agree it's really well written. But the high points for me are Croy and Polder kind of putting aside their differences, unless you're George, you don't believe they have. And, and the
Finish
moment
to the end.
the moment with West that Harrison talks about, and Dogman just like unloading on Logan a bit. Yeah, so that puts it to that gives it a knuckle for me. So yeah. So that's the second and final chapter read through for the episode. We will move on to our final segment, which is our character spot. Boys, Harrison, you wanna talk about this one?
Yeah. We were kind of struggling. Jeff wanted to do the horsey, hence why he brought up the horsey multiple times.
I'm still sad about the horsey.
Honorable mention to the horsey for being a magnificent gray charger that was worthy of a king.
And he flopped obediently.
And he he cloppeth and he dieth. But
he died as he clopped obediently.
The main groups we've done this maybe once or twice, but we wanted to kind of talk about the people of Adua. We've gotten like this chapter has a lot of them just suffering and struggling, and a lot of these people probably stayed in the city because they thought, oh, it's all just bullshit, or a lot of them stayed because they thought it was the right thing to do, and no matter which one it is, they're only suffering. Like no one, it's not even like a normal siege where you get starved out. Like they're throwing fucking fire and burning the city down, and these people are losing their families and their children, and they're losing their homes, and they're starving to death, and they go to fight these people who are just invading their city, and the only consolation they get is, oh, their king is here with them to fight it. And yeah, that's kind of nice, but like, it is just pretty sad. We get to see some humanity in the city.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it in this chapter, and we've seen it in previous chapters when Giselle makes his speech, and well, quite a few times actually throughout this trilogy. But it's good to see like the common people sort of try and like deal with this as much as they can. And to be fair to them, they put a fucking brave face on it, don't they?
Yeah, the people of Adua are like very prideful and very resilient.
Yeah.
In a surprising way, in a way that you wouldn't expect. And won't be the last time we see things like this.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
No.
But I do like how there is like this small like sub character that is like the city of Adua itself, and it's kind of a cool thing because it's always in like he always points it out in the small people and what they're going through, and we see more clarification of that. But this is like the beginning of that idea, in this book.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Jeff? What do you think?
Well, I think the small folk are doing all they can. I mean, we don't really see a lot from the nobility of Adua, except for, Veru's kind of, pish poshing, like, oh, we shouldn't go down there. And then, Giselle, doing what he can as a king. But we're getting we're getting we're getting a very up close look at the small folk and their suffering, because they didn't ask for it, but they're apparently on the front lines. They're getting the brunt of this bullshit. And you have the moments of like, where's my son? But besides that, you do have moments where they still somehow come together as like with a sense of community, and a sense of a national identity that isn't at least from what we've seen so far from the small folk, isn't like jingoism, right? You'll probably get that the more higher up you get, like, if you're talking about like Archlector Sultan stuff. But in terms of the people of Adua, I mean, yeah, I think it's important to highlight them for their bravery and for their shortage of child laborers.
They're suffering, Jeff. Jeff, the script said suffering. Stop going off script.
So that was a good one. All right. So we don't have a community interaction segment for this episode. So with that, that's our show, everyone. And we want to thank you all for listening and supporting this podcast. As you all know, this is a passion project for the three of us, and your support really does mean a lot to us.
Join us next week as we cover questions and the Day of Judgment.
And make sure you follow us on all of our social media and have a look at our website. It's circleoftheworld.com.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any podcast app that you use. And please make sure to rate and review this podcast. Thank you all again for listening.
This will be a battle like no other.